Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where we talk with people from all walks of the publishing industry. I'm Christy Stratus, historical suspense and historical fantasy author, and my awesome co-hosts are epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens and science fiction author David M. Kelly. So Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, and we encourage viewers to chime in on anything you hear in the show, comments, leave your questions for our guests, anything like that. We love hearing from you, and our guests always love answering your questions. So tonight, we are going to be welcoming multi-genre USA Today bestselling author DC Gomez, but we are changing up our format just a little bit. And we are first going to tell you what's new with us, and then we'll bring in DC. So let's start with you, Richard. What is going on in the Richard world? There's always a lot going on with you.
I'm just doing shows right now. So I just did a 4-day show. I just told Dave before we went on air, we did a 44-hour weekend. It was absolutely insane. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we were at a local fair. It's called the Rockland World's Fair. And we met a lot of new fans, sold a bunch of books. And it was a good weekend, but it was very tiring. And my poor wife, she's my support in the background. And I hurt my back on Friday night. And I couldn't do much of the slugging. And poor CJ, she had to load. We have a great big 14-foot trailer, and she had to load the whole thing by hand herself at the end of the show. I felt so bad for her, but that is nice to have the support behind you. So when things go wrong, you've got someone else to step in the gap. But so my next book, When Legends Rise, will probably start. Maybe not this week. I'm starting to upload everything in Ingram Spark properly. So I'll probably get on my next book in the next couple of weeks, and at that point, I'll have something to report. This weekend, I will be in Hamilton. For anyone who is in Ontario, I'll be at the Hamilton Germania Club at a pop culture Comic-Con. I'll be selling my books from, I believe it's 10 till 4 or something like that downtown Hamilton. So that's what's new with me.
Very cool. Yeah, that's so are you gonna be doing live reads in a couple of weeks when you start your writing?
I will just start doing the live reads once I start doing writing again. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. How about you, David?
Well, I've just been focusing on trying to do some more work on Hyperia Jones, the second book. Nice. Although, actually, following on from the accusations last week that I was spending all my time making paper masks, I have made one of an... Oh, no, sorry. No, never mind. No, I haven't been making more masks. But I have published a new blog post on one of my favorite cover artists, a British gentleman called Tim White, who did a lot of Asimov and Heinlein covers and Arthur C. Clarke covers, working for New English Library, which was kind of like one of the big British week publishers at the time when I was reading all this stuff. And so I just did a big blog post on that. He's unfortunately dead. He died in 2020 at the all too early age of 69. But very fascinating guy. What about you, Christy?
Well, I have for Corrupted Magic episode 12 just published yesterday. And so that is, the episode is called A Big Mistake. So very exciting. Also, I just crossed 100 likes on Kindle Vella for Corrupted Magic, which is super exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just crossed 550 likes for Grimoire Society of Dark Acts.
Holy cow.
Like, wow. I'm really amazed.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone who's reading it. Thank you for sharing it. It's super exciting to see that. So a couple of big milestones there. Super excited about that. So that's pretty much what's new with me. I'm currently writing episode 18. So I'm still keeping ahead so far. So it's going well.
That's awesome.
So I think that we are good to go now. I'm excited to bring on our guest, DC Gomez. Let's talk to her now. Great to have you here, DC.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, DC.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Definitely. We're so excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I gave a super brief introduction.
Super brief. I do a little bit of everything. I call myself a little an ADD kid. I'm a podcaster, speaker, as well as a writer. So I tend to play in multiple writing genres as well as mediums for creativity. So I enjoy literally just meeting people and just kind of chatting about books.
Mm-hmm. And you've written so many genres. And how many books do you have out? Because it's a lot.
Right now, I am in number 18. So we got
Wow.
it. I know. So and it's kind of interesting because it's a combination of I have novels, novellas, children's books, devotionals. So it gives me an opportunity to play in different genres, different mediums, and kind of give people a little bit of everything. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is awesome. So what are you currently working on? What series are you on at the moment, or just individual book?
I am currently working on I have a spin-off series that takes place in my urban fantasy universe. So the universe is the Reaper's universe, and I took one of my side characters after the end of the main series and gave him his own little world. So he's moving to Salem, Massachusetts. I'm originally from Salem. I grew up there. And I told my parents, I told my mother in this moment of weakness, and I'm sure you guys all had that I was going to have a book that takes place in Salem. So now it's like, oh God, what are we going to do? So it is the oldest assassin. He is accidentally becomes an assassin for the Orders of Witches. He's trying to figure out what is causing their traitors. So I'm working on book 2, which is the traitor for that series.
Very cool.
That's awesome. And I knew you grew up in Salem. And I was thinking before we come on air, this is your time of year. Like it must be really cool to be living anywhere around Salem around October, going into the Halloween season. And it must have been very interesting for you when you're growing up in Salem. Was it like did they go really hog wild way back then? Like, and I don't mean way back then because I'm not trying to age you. Like, did they
Well,
go when like 5 years ago when you were a child?
oh, of course, absolutely. So to put things in perspective, I'm the blessing that I look very young, but I literally grew up in Salem 30 years ago. So and Halloween was a big deal 30 years ago. Nowadays is amazing. Like my mom will call me and goes, "By the way, we have a parade for Halloween." I'm like, "Stop bragging! Don't brag! Don't call me to say that." So yeah, so she likes to brag about it. It is no surprise because I live in Texas. I'm now living in the Bible Belt, and everybody asks like, "How did you get into witches and zombies?" And I'm like, "Well, I grew up in Salem." And they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." Yeah, like and nobody questions it. Everybody's like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense."
No further answer required.
Easy peasy.
So one of our reviews says that it's great you have 18 books. How do you manage the marketing side of having different genres? You must obviously not do that all yourself.
One of the things that I had to learn very early on, because I write in so many different areas, is that instead of trying to market to genre or to the market, I market more to the brand. So what most people can expect when they pick up a DC Gomez book, and it sounds kind of weird talking about myself in the third person, is that you're going to get quirky characters, you're going to get action, you're going to get adventure. So I try to create that brand more or less instead of trying to create a specific marketing campaign. Primarily because I went crazy. I literally tried like one day you're marketing, nonfiction with devotionals, and then you have children's, and then you're going, nobody's going to follow through if I keep jumping audiences. So I just kind of went, okay, this is what I write. Hopefully you like the style. Hopefully you want to take a chance on this wild ride with me. And my readers are seem to kind of enjoy the dynamics of other different books.
Mm.
So I saw that in your website, you studied film and television at university. So I'd be interested to hear about that, and has that had an impact on how you actually approach your writing?
It has a lot. I went to NYU. So my background, I did television when I was in high school the entire time. I went to school at NYU for film and television. And I have that story that I can be very honest. Like I joined the military right after college because I wanted to learn about people. And somebody like recently told me, like, you could just travel. Like I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I know. I was like, sounded great, but at the time I was 21 when I joined the military. Weren't thinking that far ahead. So one of those life lessons that changes your life. I was in basic training when 9/11 happened. So my entire life of like, you're going to make films, you're going to learn about people, you're going to create these stories, just flip. You know what I mean? Like life decisions became real. So now fast forward to 5 years ago, my world looks very much like a film script. So my books have that feel of a movie. You go from one scene to the other. Like every chapter is a scene. And when you change chapters, you change locations. So you get that feel as if you're watching a movie, if you're watching a television show, and the speed that goes with it, just because that's how my mind functions really well.
Very cool.
Okay,
great.
sorry, Christy. I
Yeah.
was gonna. You write about witches, obviously, and this is kind of more directed towards what I'm going to be doing soon. Is I'm going to be writing directly about witches in my
Okay.
next series. How did you go about researching them? Like, it's such a big genre. And did you research like modern day witchcraft, or did you research older, or did you do both? And what resources did you use?
I did a combination of both. One of the things that I did, I wanted to find out what are some of the main holidays that the Wiccan religion has. Like, I wanted to find out what actually were some things, because I do write urban fantasy. So some of the things have to be very within the environment as well. You can pull and you can create and you can go crazy in some stuff, but with urban fantasy, you still have to have, the environment. So I looked at main holidays. I looked at what specifically is celebrated, because I tried to match some of the main events in my books to main events that could correlate to that, just to create a trigger point in terms of the magic. Like some of our, solstice will have more power than others. So I looked at that. And then because I grew up in Salem, I spent half of my life there learning about the history of witches and kind of like the Salem witch trials. So I had a little bit more of that life of how it looked like then. So I pulled a little bit from everywhere. I add mythology into it, primarily because I'm obsessed with Egyptian mythology. So I tend to pull from that. So my books are a little bit of a crossover from all these different genres, just because I enjoy it. I think we are all a little bit of everything. We can pull from many different things, especially for like fantasies. You can definitely play with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're doing fantasy, but you are putting in time into research as well. This is not just straight fantasy. I do what I want. You are doing some amount of research too.
One of the hardest things, and my main series takes place here in Texarkana. And because it is urban fantasy, anytime you pick a place and a location, it comes with a history. So one of our main buildings now is being renovated, but at the time it was, and it's called the Grim Hotel. It is this beautiful building. It has this incredible architecture. I'm like the little kid that fell in love with it. And I wanted to put a scene in my first book in this building. Like, this will be beautiful. I want this whole battle scene. And as I'm writing this, I go back and I was doing Google Earth to kind of get the dimension straight. And it said, back in the 40s and 50s, there was a fire. And the building is supposed to be haunted. And you're supposed to have all these ghosts. My main character is supposed to talk to ghosts. I'm like, great. So I spend pretty much an entire day trying to rewrite this chapter to make sure that if you talk about death and she talks to the dead, you just can't ignore that the building is haunted. So I'm like, that was not what I was prepared. So I'm much more cautious when I pick locations now to make sure that it's not going to go down a rabbit hole of hours spending going, oh God, it's haunted. Like, and there's supposed to be all these things. And how do I bring this to my story without, because people are going to research. So I do a alternative history on the fall of the Roman Empire for one of my novellas. One of my beta readers went and checked every single one of the facts, every name in this book, every location. He goes, you got it right. And I was like, yes, because there's people like you in my life that's going to be like, you didn't get it right. So anytime that comes into play, yes, you spend a lot more time checking those facts and making sure that what you're playing with it is still real and not completely made up, that people can be like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It sounds like both fun and, as you said, like it can be quite distracting and take a lot of time, especially if you weren't planning for it.
Research can be one of those amazing and horrible things at once. So if you enjoy research, and you guys probably do, you're going to go down a rabbit hole that you don't know how to get out. You're like, there goes 2 days of my life that I wasn't planning to work on that.
So in your Intern Diaries series, your central character is an Army vet, and you mentioned that you were in the Army yourself for 4 years. So I was wondering, was that character in those books, was it somewhat based on you or maybe people that you worked with?
So the main character, her name is Isis Black, is actually based on my brother. And by the way, when I first started writing, I didn't tell anybody I was writing a book. Like, it was one of those terrifying experiences of my life. I literally did not discuss this with anybody till the book came out, and that took a while. So I sent this book to my brother. He goes, oh, by the way, she's in the 82nd Airborne. He goes, wait, what? And so I had this awkward moment with my brother to be like, so I kind of borrow your background. And he's like, really? You're going to tell me this? I was like, I didn't think you were going to get the book. Like, it's one of those things. So I have have quotes from people that I know that I love. I had one of my dear friends has a recipe for a sandwich. So him and his wife read the book and she was like, huh, I've never heard anybody else say it. I was like, maybe I should have told you. So yes, about that. So now I'm asking permission before I put it in the book because you have no idea who's going to read it and go, that sounds familiar.
That's great.
So we have a question here. It's from Alexandra Murray. She says, is it true that the cat lady special, I see a poster behind you?
The research, yes. I guess, yeah.
So I do, I'm trying to see, right there. So the cat lady special. So can I tell you this story? You guys can all giggle with me?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Sure.
This is how my mind functions. So the little girl that writes urban fantasy gets invited to romance conventions all the time. So I was like, yes, I'm going to go to this romance convention and it will be amazing. When I left, I was like, I should write a romance book. This is my theory because I don't know why I thought this would be a great idea. So in my entire world, as my 5-hour drive back home, this idea came and I wanted to have like a second chance romance. And I was going to have this depressed cat lady who's going to come into herself and find herself. And as I'm drafting this book, midway through, I have a depressed cat lady that is definitely finding herself, but she becomes an arms dealer. So there's not technically romance because she doesn't end with a guy and they're like, that's not a romance. So it's like, but there's a whole bunch of bonding. So it is quirky, super action. I have a group of elderly 6-year-olds selling guns in Texas. So they're called the Silver Hair Gang and they're running around literally selling guns while Angela's trying to control the lady, sell the guns, not go to jail, and try to put her life together as her, two-timing ex-husband who decided to marry a Barbie doll doesn't put her in jail. So yeah, in terms of the romance, no romance. I was like, yeah. So, but yeah. So the cat lady special has book 2 and is a depressed cat lady. So one of the things that I like the titles. I thought they were super cute. I've been asked if I'm a cat lady because I honestly only have one cat, but a lot of my books have cat elements into it. And it is really super fun. As long as you enjoy a bunch of quirky characters who are nuts. Because, come on now, they're in Texas and they're selling guns. And her solution is, if Walmart can sell guns, so can I. This is how she's validating her life. This is like, we need to work on your priorities, girl.
So I'm going to be looking at cat ladies a whole lot differently from now on.
only if they come fashionably dressed and have a pistol. Just be careful. And in Texas, that will probably happen.
I'm going to be looking at my wife a whole lot differently from now on, too.
It's great. It is so much fun. So, yes. So, my attempts at romance have been definitely dwarfed and not nearly what I think they should be. But it became a really fun story. One of the best things I have ever heard from a reader. And it was kind of by accident because I do write lots of humor. Is, she goes like, this is a very empowering book. It's very image empowering. So my favorite line is Angela goes in and she's in the process of, she's thinking she's going to kill herself. Her life's in the dumps. Everything's bad. So she meets her mom and her mom's friend, this group of older ladies who are, if anybody has hanging out with older, much more seasoned individuals, they don't care how you feel. They're just going to tell you the truth. So Angela comes in looking like a hot mess. And they look at her and say, girl, you're not cute. So she's trying to get a hold of herself. And then she's like, you need to eat. You're pretty small. And she doesn't get it. She goes, honey, ribs are not sexy. So they have an entire discussion. Nobody looks at those kids in the TV and says, there's some sexy ribs. Let me send them some money. So you're going to think about it now, too. You're like, nobody looks at that ever. So that was the quote that she reviewed this book and literally sent me this entire post, how image empowering and motivating it was. And I was like, I just thought it was really funny because it's really how I feel. Ribs are not sexy. Nobody wants to see that. It's okay. But Angela gets harassed because she's just not putting her life together.
That's funny. I think I'm sorry, Chrissy, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny. I think I must be the only author who doesn't have some kind of a pet. So I actually went out this week and decided that I'd better do something about this. So I got myself a new one. It's a tribble.
Oh, I was like, what is that?
So
Oh,
I've joined the fraternity of author pet owners. It's a bit vicious, though. I haven't got it fully trained yet.
I like it.
Sorry.
I like it. Yes, you needed a pet. That's a good one.
It's the perfect one.
See what happens when you live that far up north?
Yep.
At least it won't freeze to death.
Yeah,
I
exactly. Yeah.
expect to see that in some of our live reads too. He'd better make an entrance. I want to see that.
It'll probably be up here, yeah.
Oh,
It could be. There you go.
Aw,
Awesome.
it's gonna fall
We're
in the
happy
back.
now. Yeah.
So, DC, I'm just going to turn this a bit more serious because I know one of your passions is helping those around you. And I know you do motivational stuff as well, which is really cool. And you help them overcome their self-limiting beliefs. And as an author, I think most of us suffer anywhere from a mild case to a severe case of imposter syndrome on any given day. Even if you're fairly successful and you sell a lot of books, there are days when I'm sure that we all are wondering, why are we doing this? Am I really making a difference? Am I actually, reaching anyone? So what's your advice to struggling authors or even those who have been around for a while but have fallen back into this funk? Because it's almost like a roller coaster being an author. Like there are so many awesome highs and there are some pretty low lows. And so what's your advice when we get into these lows?
One of the hardest things is to remember why we started. Because at the end of the day, one of my partners, and we literally do an TikTok live every week, one of the things she says that I think is beautiful is as authors and as creative individuals, we tend to take the things that we relax, we take our hobbies, we take our passions, and then we monetize it. So then the things that used to relax us, the things that gave us that peace of mind is gone. So when we're looking at ourselves and we're looking at specifically what makes us smile, because sometimes we forget this can be a very competitive, yet we're only competing with ourselves world. And at the end of the day, we forget why did we got into this? Like, what is that thrill? What is that piece of this business that makes you smile? I try to remind people. I hear a lot of authors that says, I write this for me. Do you really? We write for ourselves, but we publish for others. So if you're publishing just for yourself, that's technically a journal. Is it really for you, or are you publishing for your readers? So we have to remind very basic why you're doing this. The next thing is, why do you feel like you're competing, and who are you competing with? At no point in time, and this is the part that I had to kind of get in my brain really early, I'm never going to write enough books to keep one rabid reader satisfied, ever. I have friends that can read a book a day. I have some that can do it a week. I'm like, I'm never going to write 52 books in a year. That is never going to happen. As much as I might die trying, but it's just not going to happen. So if you can build a community of people that can write 52 books between all of you, you can maintain these things. So when we stop thinking that we're by ourselves, and when we stop thinking that, oh my God, I have to do it all, I have to compete. Because one of the things that I realized really early on, being a writer, believe it or not, is a little selfish. You have to decide that this is what you love. You have to decide you're going to commit because nobody else is going to do it with you. Nobody's going to write your books. And then you're taking time from the people that you love. You're taking time from your family, from your jobs to spend it in your space to write, and nobody can come and join you. So it's one of those incredible things that you have to decide. What made you smile? What made you take? What made you decide to be like, you know what? I'm taking this journey. I'm taking this leap. And it's going to be, we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs, we're going to have it everywhere. But do you remember what made you smile?
Yeah,
That's
I
great
love that.
advice. Thank you.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
that's fantastic. When you're saying, it's such a good point when you're saying we write for readers, or we write for ourselves and things like that. It's kind of, it has to be a balance, right? Because we're not writing. You're so right about that because, even just in the way of trying to make our book saleable or the best it can be or enjoyable to someone outside of us, you're dead right that it has to be, for readers as well, no matter if you're writing something that's not popular or you are trying to hit the market or whatever. That's such a good point. And so one of the things I think is really cool about you in particular is all of these different genres you write. And like, maybe we can redefine in a way writing for yourself to be, I want to write nonfiction and I'm going to, and I want to write urban fantasy now. And I'm going to just do that because that's what's in me, So maybe we should look at it more like that. I think you brought up a really great point there.
I think, and I'm reading Derek's message, one of the things that sometimes we forget is that we want to work so hard in the business that we forgot that we love this. We're all readers. Most authors are going to be more passionate readers than anything else. But it's also the fact of finding that it is that balance of what makes you smile. It is that balance where you want to write. But it's also giving yourself permission to say, you know what? I am enjoying this and I'm going to give it a try. Because the hardest thing for us to realize what we write is not what kind of readers are going to get. Like I've written pieces and people's like, oh my God, I connected here. And I was like, did I write that? Like I'm seriously going in my head. I was like, where is that? Like I'm going, which part of what book did you read? Because wait, was it me? Like, and you realize even we take everything in the connection of our lives. Everything is going to be filtered through the minds, through our experiences. And sometimes the things that we write, people are going to connect at a whole different level. So at the end of the day, we can make the best manuscripts and we can publish the most incredible works. And people are going to connect with the strangest things. You're like, I don't think that was in the book. Are you sure it was in the book? Which book did you read? Think about it. Like, have people come up to you guys and ask you these questions and you're sitting going like, yeah. It's like, did I write that? Really? Like, which book did you read?
No, and it is incredible how intelligent and how much your readers will remember that you as the author will forget. I was doing these book events all the time, and someone came up to me and said, are you ever going to write about that girl who befriended Rika and went on the boat with her? And I'm thinking, it took me about 5 minutes to remember who that character was, and I'm the one who wrote the character. And all of a sudden, oh, Kahira, right? And then we had a discussion, but they knew my characters more than I did. So especially the minor characters and the little things that you throw in there just because it's advancing your story that you really don't pay much attention to as the author, and your readers really pay attention. It's funny what resonates with readers that you would never think would.
I learned really early on that these are not my characters. I'm just the caregivers of the reader's characters. Like, this is theirs. This is their family. My job is not to kill them off so they don't kill me. Like, I am just literally like, I'm a full-time babysitter of these people that they love. Like, they're not mine. Like, the moment like these books leaves and people pick them up, they make connections and they're very much involved in their lives. Like book 5 of the Intern Diaries, which is Judgment Day. Like, this is the big finale. I knew from the beginning what was going to happen to one of the characters. I knew it. And I knew how I was going to bring it all back and tie it. I have never had hate mail in my life where people going like, girl, I was planning to drive to Oklahoma and beat you. I was like, I thought you loved me. And all I can think, like, I got like through the whole entire process, people like, I am so angry. I was like, just please keep reading. Like, I've never had to tell people keep reading. I was like, no, seriously, like you should finish the book. I promise it's going to be okay. But it was such a great realization to realize I'm just a keeper. Like, I'm literally the person who's babysitting these people and it's theirs. And if you completely take that for granted, your readers are going to tell you, like, I have realized, I'm like, you take this very personal. Like, you have invested it. You took these people home and it became a very personal, adventure for you. Like, think about it. How many other stuff you take to bed? Like, let's be honest, like, besides a book and maybe your phone, what else is coming? Your significant others, obvious, but what else is coming to bed? Like, that's a really intimate relationship. And as an author, it is a privilege for people to take our books with them. We also have to realize it's a huge responsibility because you might beat me. Like, I might not make it because I did something to your kid and you did not like it.
I love that analogy that once you write about the characters and they take them home, they're not yours anymore. They're theirs. That's amazing. That is so true.
Very true.
Yeah.
A comment from Derek saying, all I'm saying is the world needs more Dark Victoriana by Christy Stratos. Yes.
Thank you, Derek. Grateful. That's sweet.
So are you paying Derek there, Christy, or what's going on?
I'm not actually. I should. I'm not.
So when the readers connect more with the character you didn't expect. Exactly. And that's what that Kahira was, what I was talking about just a few minutes ago. They connected with Kahira. And I have no plans for her anymore. Like, she was just this instrument to get the main character from one spot to one seaport to another. And as much as I love making her quirky and everything else, I have no plans to make her go anywhere else. And this person wants a story about Kahira. I didn't know what to tell him. So and another thing, when you're, and this is kind of going off topic a wee bit, but I see you're attending Vegas. I went and saw your schedule. You're attending Vegas, 20 bucks to 50K next month. I've been there a couple of times. I went in 2018 and 2019, and now it's on the main strip now. Have you been there before?
I went last year, so this is.
Oh, you did go last year, eh?
I did. So I did go last year. It was probably, there's very few events for authors are meant specifically for our craft. We do a lot of events all the time in terms of selling. You do a lot of events to promote. This is one of those things that to me became very family. Like everybody was very welcoming. Everybody was very embracing. The one thing I was very surprised because, the convention is 20 books to $50,000. I met more people who are not interested in that. They wanted to write a book a year or two, and you're going, huh. So it was really refreshing to realize that every author is in their own path. And even though there's a convention to push a lot of, to get you excited, to get you writing quickly, that was not the consensus. People were not interested. They wanted to learn tools. They wanted to learn how to market. They were not that concerned about having to write 20 books. They were like, that's not what I want. And so to me, that was very, very refreshing. I got really excited. I was like, that's really fun.
It's an amazing conference for sure. And so I know what the best part of it for me was when I went in those 2 years. We actually took my wife along, and I'm thinking about halfway through that, I don't know if I want to spend the money to come back here next year. And she said, we're coming back next year. Like, so, she's not the author, but she saw the benefit of this. And so we went back in 2019. But what did you find was the best part of the conference for yourself? We got some really big hitters at 20 books to 50K. Like they make big money, but they have all these awesome panels and stuff. But what was the best part of the whole conference for you? Was it the panels or was it the interaction afterwards?
For me, I have made really dear friends from it. So I actually volunteered to be in the AV team. So
right, I saw that.
That really is difficult, but also the fact I am very, to surprising, a fairly introvert. So in big events that I don't have a purpose, I tend to fall into the background. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't spend my time in my room. I wanted to make sure that I actually had a place to go. So the team that I got to spend some time was amazing. And it was able to kind of go back and forth. The one thing for the event that I enjoy was the honesty of the panels, because everybody has big numbers, but they were also able to tell you how they got them. You know what I mean? They were very honest of the amount of money they spent on advertising. And it kind of made me feel better. I was like, okay, I don't feel like spending that amount of money. So that is okay. So it became a really much opening awakening of the fact that it is a business. You're going to spend a lot of money on ads because you are competing with Amazon's everything, or Barnes and Nobles. But it was honesty enough to make you go, this is what it took them to get there. If you want that, are you willing to do the work? And sometimes I think once you realize what it takes to get there, you realize, that sounds like fun. Not going to do that. I think that's the best part.
It's super eye-opening, isn't it? It really is super eye-opening, the amount of effort that goes into the marketing, the amount of money that's spent in advertising. I've talked to people in 20 books, 50K, and not in, who've had major success. And it really blows your mind, the amount that it can take to make that happen. It's amazing. But yeah, like you said, it can kind of give you a feel for, do I want to chase that or not? That's a great point.
And then you become very realistic. What is that journey for you? What is that career you're looking for? Do I want all that? Because at the end of the day, we tend to forget that we're still extremely creative creatures. We're extremely sensitive creature, because that's where the creativity comes. And at some point in time, even with social media, how much social media can you do, and how much writing do you do compared to the social media? And does your mindset actually can handle it? Because after a while, I'm like, I am exhausted. And if you ask me how much did you write, I was like, nothing. I wrote nothing today. I was busy posting on 5 different platforms, and I was keeping up with all this. Yeah. So those events to me are great to make you understand that. And last year was big about self-help. I think we had tons of panel members talking about mental health, but we're talking about self-help, self-care. Because sometimes we're all like, okay, you got to go, go, go. And you're going, how much can you sacrifice for this? Because you are sacrificing time. You're sacrificing money. You're sacrificing your family. Are you taking care of you? One of the panel members that talked about is, we all talked about, you need to write the whole book and then edit it. I'm that kind of person. She goes, it doesn't work for everybody. So if you're trying to chase that, how is your mental health? So it became a very much awakening in terms of, as an author, you're a creative soul. Where is your soul in this middle of this mess if you're putting everything on the line to chase the next shiny object or the next high?
Absolutely.
So, DC, I believe you run something called the Book Corner, which streams live on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you tell us some more about that?
So I am the kid that presses buttons. I have no issues admitting it. I'm literally that curious little kid's like, ooh, what is that? And then I press a button. So my Amazon journey has become that, like pressing the button. So I became an Amazon influencer literally by accident. So I don't know if you guys are Amazon junkies. I am an Amazon junkie. I'm always there. So a consumer, I'm hooked. As a writer, I was like, I wish you would treat me better, but that's another story. So I can admit it. As a consumer, we're best friends. As a writer, I was like, oh, we need to work on this relationship. So I was literally on Amazon for anybody. And I don't know if you guys still have, if you guys have it in Canada, they do tons of live streaming. So Amazon has become the new QVC for here in the States. So you get to see all these people selling all this stuff and they have clothes and everything. I was like, ooh, what is that? So I went down that rabbit hole. I was like, how did you do that? Like, what is that? So it says, do you want to apply? And I'm like, sure, click. I was like, do you have a fan base? I'm like, I got Instagram people. Yeah, click. So I kept clicking. And then they're like, you are approved. And I was like, oh God, what just happened? So that look was my look when it was like, oh God, I wasn't ready. Like, what do you say? No, my bad. I changed my mind. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So the first couple of months I tried to sell, so I was trying to sell like author stuff, like how to make swags, how to get all this stuff. Then I literally was like, I'm tired. I don't sell makeup. Like, I don't wear makeup. I didn't want to do clothes. So I had a discussion with one of my dear friends and I was like, look, I have this platform and I have a podcast where I interview authors, but I was like, I have a platform in Amazon. And as long as people have a book in Amazon, I guess I can sell it. She goes, you should do it. Don't tell somebody you should do it when I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So she's like, if you decide to do this, I will be your first guest. So I spent like 4 weeks trying to figure out, I was like, how do I get an interview show on Amazon during their live streaming to sell the books and pull it off? I was like, they didn't say I couldn't do it. Like, they didn't say it wasn't going to work. So I do a Wednesday night and a Friday morning. And what I decided to do is I do brand new books, so within 90 days. So any author that has a brand new with 90 days that wants to come and chit chat live on Amazon, and it's literally a live screen, people can ask questions, which was kind of creepy at first. And I have a carousel at the bottom. So we're literally just discussing the books. It's a very laid back interview. I get to press buttons on 2 screens, so I look a little ADD. So, but it's becoming so much more fun. And I never realized, I was like, how did you do that? I was like, I pressed a button. I don't know. Like, they said, hey, you can have this space. And because I could, I did. And I didn't ask questions. I'm like, hey, let's see what happens. So now it is a live interview show for authors with new books. And anybody can come. It's so much fun. And because it's live, then I don't have to do a lot of prepping. Like, I do a 15-minute follow-up. Because for my podcast, it comes with tons of editing because my authors are doing a reading. So I'm producing a semi-audio book, and then we do with this. This one is literally like, can you talk for 30 minutes and not get silent on me? Then we're good.
Is that something that people can, like, I've seen it go by and everything, the live streaming and the selling and everything. Is that something people can like subscribe to a channel, or like, you can?
Yes, you can actually. So Amazon has different tiers because Amazon is like that amazing about things. And then once you can follow any of the live streaming. So you can follow me. When I go live, I'll send you a notice like, hey, DC's Book Corner is live. Come and watch. You can also watch the replay. You can watch any of the other channels in there. And the fun part about it is for authors, like, they can buy the book right there. Like, if you can sell your book enough for people to be like, ooh, you buy the book. So my best interview that I think was the funniest. So we were doing finance, and he has his like the 3-legged stool, which was super amazing. I had to giggle with him. And we had a guy that says, when is the audiobook coming? I was like, he's like, I just wrote a book. I don't have an audiobook. So we talked about it for 20 minutes. The guy ended up buying the book right there. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So we did our own little happy dance, woohoo, and then our own little celebration. But it was one of those cool things is, hey, he watched a 30-minute interview about how the stock market can be impacting businesses and what it does for everybody else. Loved the book, took a chance on it, bought the book. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing a good thing. Like, if somebody can come to this show and you can find a reader, somebody can buy your book just because you were scrolling through Amazon, then this is a win for everybody.
That's awesome. So we got a viewer here who says, can you post a link? And I don't know if you can from there right now, but once the show's over, I'm sure you can post it later on when you get a moment, just to post a link to that show. So Alexandra, or you can see that. It'd be cool.
It is. So for the links, anything with Amazon, I think my link is amazon.com/shop/DC Gomez-author, because I'm not that creative and I couldn't figure out what else to think. I was like, let's be honest, I was like, there's too many links. Like, I need to keep it simple. So that's kind of the Amazon one. So yeah. And you can actually get the link from, I think I have a link on my website as well that you can get to it. And you can watch any previous show and you can kind of figure it out. And the carousel is there. I learned how to make lists of like my upcoming shows compared to like everybody who's been featured. You still can look at their old books. I'm learning all sorts of things about Amazon that I didn't know before.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
So we're getting near the end of the show, and I wanted to ask you this question. I'm not sure if Dave and Christy have a question for you before we go too, but I want to know, I know you're an award-winning USA Bestselling author, and that seems to be like the unicorn for many people to try to get to that point. I know we're almost out of time, so I know it's not a quick answer, but how, in a nutshell, did you go about becoming an award-winning USA Bestselling author? You didn't just write the book and get an editor and publish it and bang, you were a USA Bestselling author, or did you?
Actually, it's in two parts. So the award winning is several different competitions, several different festivals. So that's two things separate. I actually, when I started out, I had read one of those many books, like things you're supposed to do to be an author to help your career. And one of the things that said, hey, join an anthology so you can work as a group to go to USA Today. Many of my friends have always said, oh my God, that's a cop out. I was like, let me tell you, I have never worked harder in my life to promote and publish and push a book like I did in this group. I don't even work this hard for my own books, guys. Come on. So we worked for about 9 months nonstop. Like, I posted every day. We promoted every day. And it was a group of about 20 or so of us. It was back in 19, right? Kind of like what the wave of the anthologies was going down to truly make it. Because in order to make a USA Today list, because it's all straight numbers, you need about 5,000 to 6,000 copies sold within that week. And it can't be all Amazon. So you're looking at 500 in Apple, 500 in Kobo. You're looking at Barnes and Nobles in order to be considered. So you have to have that mix. So Amazon, while it can rule the planet, they don't count it. So it can't just be all of that. And the time that we did it, Amazon lost about almost 900 to 1,200 of our pre-orders because they couldn't find our book. So it was I've never had a very great before. So anthologies are great, especially if you can have a group of like-minded people that want to work for it, because it does cost, for an author, especially if you're indie, it can cost you about $10,000 to try to make it run by yourself. It is a substantial amount of money.
Well, that's awesome. That's interesting. Thank you for explaining that. That's really cool to hear.
My pleasure.
So, Dave and Christy, do you
have one last question?
What's that?
I've got one.
Yeah, go for it.
We're coming up to Halloween, so what's your most memorable Halloween costume that you've ever worn?
I am really, really boring when it comes to Halloween costumes. I think I was...
Me too.
I am so boring. Like, I usually go with the witches, primarily because I love witches. I always dress as a witch. One year I tried to be like a sexy vampire. I couldn't breathe all night. So I'm like, I'm giving this up. Like, we're not going to do that again. That was way too much work. So more of a traumatized costume than it is like memorable. I was like, yeah, that was not a good idea.
I can't believe, Dave, that you have boring costumes. You proved that last week. You've got some amazing costumes.
No, I don't.
Can't get away with that one.
That spider was like the best I've ever seen. We did some live. Sorry, DC. You probably had.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
We do live reads once a month, so we bring authors in and we live read for them, and we dress up.
Boris is still here.
Spider in this one book, and this was his costume for our live read last week.
I'm so glad.
That's so cute. Oh my God.
That is amazing.
Boris is still here.
I had a great big smile on my face for like 45 minutes straight, just seeing Dave in the spider hat.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my God.
How about you, Chris? You got anything else before we go?
I don't think so. I think that's it. It has been so nice talking to you, DC. Anna, I think we both know Anna Applegate, and she was saying that we were going to have a great chat, and she was absolutely right. This time went like nothing. Oh my goodness.
It did. It sure did.
I am so grateful. Thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun to chat with authors. Obviously, I got like 2 programs just so I can chat with authors because I'm a little kid who loves books. So authors is like, I'm officially like fangirl. I was like, oh my God, I get to talk to more authors. This is great. So I'm extremely grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
just before we go, next week's guest, on Looking for Legends. He's going to be perfect for this time of year. Mark Leslie is a writer of Twilight Zone. And if DC, you probably met Mark Leslie Lefebvre at 20 bucks and 50K. He sometimes he works for Drafted Digital, and he sometimes does some discussion panels. So Mark Leslie is a writer of Twilight Zone style speculative fiction, dark fantasy thrillers, and horror. He sometimes travels to book events with his life-size skeleton companion Barnaby Bones. And Dave and I have both seen Barnaby.
We have.
Mark's done. He does some things up in Dave's hometown when we do Comic-Cons up there. So. Mark's such a great guy, and he's so helpful, and he's so personable. He enjoys giving people chills and thrills with his writing. And when he's not writing or reading, Mark can be found haunting bookstores, libraries, or local craft beer establishments. If you have questions about craft beer, Mark is the guy to talk to. If you're at 20 books, so ask him to buy you a craft beer when you see him in November. Yes, and he will do that. Mark lives in Southern Ontario with myself here. And anyway, I'm looking forward to speaking with Mark next week. He's going to be amazing. So thanks again, DC, for spending some time with us tonight.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
And I need to speak to Caroline about her aversion to cats. We now have something to discuss. So as soon as I sign off, I'm going to see if she's an arms dealer. So for Christy, Dave, and myself, we hope you have a magical week. And until we meet again, take good care.
Good night.